for joining me today. I'm Brian Fletcher, a cybersecurity practices advisor at ISACA. And joining me today is a very special guest, the CTO and co-founder for Hillstone Network, Tim Liu. He's going to be discussing today his recent ISACA journal article, Taking Security to the Next Level. Tim, it's great to have you on with us today. And how's it going?
Yeah, thanks for having me. Good morning.
So before we dive into your article, I'd like for you to introduce yourself a little bit and tell us about your background, where you've come from, your education, and what do you do now?
Originally, I come from China, so I come here for grad study about 30 years ago. Actually, my background, my undergrad and grad school, all in physics. It's not any computer related. After I graduate, actually back in 92, 97, 92, 93, the job market was not very good. If you remember, there was this, superconducting super collider projects that was to be building data around data, and that got scrapped, and so were a lot of the jobs at postdoc jobs. So the subject I was studying in physics is actually a cross discipline between physics and math, chaos theory. So I got a lot of computer time, and after graduation I got a computer job, and later on move into security. So that's basically how I got into this job. In terms of security, I first worked in a company called NetScreen Securities, and then later on in Juniper. And after that, me and a couple of colleagues actually went ahead and found the Hillstone Networks.
So Tim, that's great. Your comment there about the math reminded me of my calculus teacher back in the day telling me, you have to know math to know computers. So
and
anyway.
It's very interesting. A lot of the some of the things I learned in my PhD, neural networks were developed around that time. I never thought I could ever use that in my computer job. And later on, nowadays you have AI in security, and it's starting to pick up. So it actually comes in a full circle, so to speak.
That's great. So I was just curious, what inspired you, Tim, to write this particular article?
Actually, I think because of all these different kind of security, new security events, security attacks that's been going on. The security administrators actually have lots on their hand. They have been buying different kind of security products to deal with this kind of new attacks. So nowadays, you probably have a lot of different security products from different vendor in an environment, and all these products actually spitting out events, right? That detect, and it's very common for administrators to see tens of thousands of events per day. And how do you make use of them? Let's say a particular server probably have events A, B, C, and another server have like events A and D. So it's hard to see what's important from this sea of data. So this cyber kill chain is kind of like a framework that help you understand what's going on and put all these events onto a sort of map, a stage map. And the MITRE attack is another framework that help you to understand this kind of events. So cyber kill chain has been with us for a long time. MITRE is something new, and looks like all the vendors are starting to pick up on the MITRE attack. And I think it's a good time for the security administrators to also start to understand this framework and know how these frameworks can help them.
That's very interesting, Tim. So myself being a red teamer, I'm very familiar with both MITRE ATT&CK and the cyber kill chain. But for our audience, can you give us a brief overview of the cyber kill chain and MITRE ATT&CK?
Cyber kill chain basically I think it's first developed by Lockheed Martin. It's basically sort of describe the different stages of attack, from the initial recon stage, basically where the uh, hacker is sort of scanning your environment, to weaponization. They find the vulnerability and package malware to deliver to your system. And when it gets into your system, it establishes CNC to its command control center and eventually exfiltrate your data or do some other damages. There's sort of describe different stages of attack. The MITRE attack frame is a little bit more complex and more sophisticated. The ATTCK. So the first AT is adversary tactics. Second T is technique, and common knowledge. So basically, it tells you what adversary is, what his tactics are, what techniques he's using, and sort of common knowledge as threat intelligence. So there are two other frameworks that help you understand, what stages the hacker is in. When you see events, what does that tell you in terms of, what stages the hacker is in, what techniques he's using, and what tactics he's trying to achieve.
So regarding the cyber kill chain, why is it so instrumental to cybersecurity teams when walking through the various stages of an attack?
I think this for the with the example I just mentioned, say you have two server, then you see a certain events happening on the server. Whether that server is under different kind of what is the severity of that attack on that server. So it's kind of hard to decide if you don't know what the stages the attacks is in. For example, if you only see events in the recon stage, that meaning the hacker is only scanning you. As we know, all the machines on the internet get scanned, right? Probably in a matter of minutes. So it may not be that serious issue. But if you also see events later on in the cyber kill chain, for example, if you see a malware get delivered and then you see some CNC channel being established from your server, you see more events from the later stages, it can indicate a more serious problem for you. So that is one of the ways that the cyber kill chain or the MITRE can help you, is to give you indication of sort of stages or different parts of that attack.
Very interesting, Tim. So, like with any framework, we're always looking for tools to use. What would be some of the products or tools that would support the cyber kill chain model?
I would say, first of all, it's the monitoring products. Things like SIEM, things like SOC, or later on the XDR platforms. These platforms actually collects events from different sources, and different security products like IPSs or antivirus, or from some host events. And it organizes all these events and may give you a better picture of what is going on for that particular asset. And later on, I would say, some of the standalone security product like firewalls also began to incorporate this capability, because, as we know that today's firewall is actually a collection of different engines, right? So it has IPS, it has, botnet detection, different kind of detection engine inside. So it can also take advantage of these frameworks to be able to show you what is going on.
Very interesting. So, as you pointed out in your article, the cyber kill chain focuses on network attack behaviors, not host attack behaviors. So, how could this be problematic?
Well, the cyber kill chain is developed years ago. It's where your perimeters and perimeter defense was the key, And nowadays, as we know, the perimeter is disappearing. You have mobile, you have cloud. So this model where attacker coming scan you from outside and coming through a perimeter become, I would say, obsolete. Doesn't cover all the picture. That's one of the ways that the attacker coming, but it's not all the way. So that's why we need a different framework that's able to not only describe the old behavior, old ways of attack, but also all the new ways of attack. The other thing is, the cyber kill chain is divide attack into stages, and they are in sequence. And in reality, when hackers come in, he may be doing a bunch of different things. May or may not be in order. So the ways that the MITRE attack can help you is be able to describe those behaviors. And also, I think the other advantage with attack framework is that you're able to expand it. If there's new tactics, new techniques that's being discovered, you're able to incorporate into it. Not like the cyber kill chain where you have a more or less static stages of of attack.
So, Tim, while we're discussing MITRE ATT&CK, what are some of the biggest challenges you saw in implementation of the MITRE ATT&CK platform?
I think for the security team, the MITRE is definitely the more complex framework compared to cyber kill chain. Cyber kill chain, probably most of people in the security industry are fairly familiar with it. At least be able to tell certain stages of that kill chain. MITRE framework is kind of new. So how do you actually make use of it? In cyber kill chain, let's say you detect a certain event in a certain stage. Let's say the malware delivery stage. You can actually incorporate, go out and buy some security product just to defend that stage. For example, you go out and buy an IPS, or you go out and buy an AV solution that's able to defend that. For MITRE, because there's more techniques and there are more tactics, it's both a good thing and a challenge. So the good thing is you know more about the attack, you get more information, something that you probably didn't know about. And the challenge is how to handle that. You have to have the expertise to be able to handle it, have the product that's able to handle it. And sometimes if some attack is new, some tactics is new, you may not have a existing product that's be able to handle it. Then you have to devise some other ways to mitigate the risk, and that can sometimes be a challenge.
Well, definitely. I know one of our biggest challenges with MITRE was setting up our playbooks and use cases. So
Exactly.
that being said, Tim, how can automation help, especially with MITRE ATT&CK?
Automation is also a big word in today's security operation. I think with or without the MITRE attack, enterprise should use automation. So that's definitely because all these different events coming in, you have a sea of events, tens of thousands, as I said, per day. So without automation, you cannot handle handle all this kind of all this amount of data. So the automation basically helps you to handle some of the low severity events and let you have the bandwidth to concentrate on the more severe ones. With the MITRE attack, as you said, there's a playbook to deal with some known tactics and known techniques, and you can use the automation to implement those playbooks and technique and ways of defense to automatically defend against certain known scenarios.
But as you pointed out a minute ago, it's always that unknown that sneaks up on you.
Yes.
So that being said, I don't agree with the premise of this next question, but I'm gonna ask it anyway. So, is there any way to be overprotected or oversecured in today's cybersecurity environment?
Uh, I don't know about overprotect or oversecured. I think that's a hard word to explain. So what I would like to say is there's basically two things that you need to concentrate on. First is you have to uh, know the things that you try to protect. What is your important assets? This could be, your customer database. It could be your transaction server, your web server, whatever. And spend money on defending, spend more money on to defend these assets compared to others. I think the other part is to also understand the vulnerability uh, on these assets. What kind of attacks can be done on these assets. I think this is what the MITRE can help you is to from these security incidents, from these matrices. It can point you to what kind of attacks uh, can be done on your assets, and you also want to spend money on those to defend those kind of ways of attack techniques. And I think it's not that it's overprotected or oversecure, but rather than whether you are spending your money wisely and most efficiently.
No, I 100% agree. It's always cost benefit analysis and how can you reduce your organization's risk. So, talking about an organization, what kind of advice would you give to an organization if they were looking to implement either the cyber kill chain or MITRE attack architecture into their systems?
Um, Usually, I would say, there's two areas. I think one is the products. The other is for your security response, where you can use this kind of framework. In terms of product, I think you need to get familiar with the framework and talk to vendors, look at their product to see how it can implement, how it can detect attacks and implement this. Framework in their product. How does it help you within the framework? And also on the operation side, uh, you know, basically devise your response according to these frameworks. What do you do? When you see this kind of attack, or what do you do when you see attack in a certain stage? So I think there's two parts. One is in terms of your product selection, product evaluation, and the other part is in your response systems.
So, Tim, while we're talking about MITRE attack, and like I said, I found it a very useful but also complex infrastructure. What would be the first step you think an organization needs to take if they're looking to implement MITRE attack?
I think for the MITRE, definitely there's a learning curve. So I think you need to first is brush up with these concepts, what's inside the MITRE framework and how it can help you. And the second part is to look at different solutions that product and solutions to see whether what kind of functionality available today, how it can help you in your implementation, and sort of you know because in some ways the vendors are probably a little bit more ahead of these customers because they implement these features in their products. I probably understand these frameworks a little bit earlier. May not be better, but earlier. So have more discussion with vendors, with industry expert to get brush up with the concept. It's okay to implement cyberculture first,
Mhm.
and since the vendors are started moving from cyberculture to the MITRE, and you can move with them. A lot of the products actually support both.
Right.
Uh, yeah.
Specifically with both products, I use Cyber Kill Chain a lot in my post analysis when I was going through my executive presentation to kind of walk them through how an attack happened. That
Yeah.
seemed to be at the level of complexity that they could easily
They can
understand it.
understand.
Yeah,
That's a good point.
yeah, but when you got into MITRE, yeah, you got the total deer in the headlights look. It was
Yeah, yeah. I mean,
like
if you're explaining to the C-suite, and maybe they're not
yeah,
really, do not really understand what MITRE is. They can
right.
understand the culture. Yeah.
I think a lot of them understand the name. I mean, the name carries a lot of weight with it. If you work in the cybersecurity industry at all, I mean, MITRE, has a great background and a great pedigree. But I mean, again, the cyber kill chain, because it's like you said before, it's a linear system. It's just a lot easier for people to understand. But also, as you pointed out, cyber attacks are not linear.
Right, right, right.
So
I
so
think the
that is one of the
security
major
team.
weaknesses in the kill chain is it is linear and odds are an attacker is going to come sideways at you. So
Mhm, mhm.
anyway,
Yeah, I think for the C-suite, I think the cyber culture is probably good enough.
hmm
And but for the security team, because of the complexity of attacks they're dealing with today, I think they need to at least know a little bit about different kind of things outside of the cyber culture, which is inside the MITRE.
right. Could you give us a little bit more detail about your PhD in physics and how you studied complex systems, including chaos theory and neutron networks? And finally, how this influenced all this application into artificial intelligence, which is a big subject of a lot of things nowadays.
I think the AI is a whole new topic. It's probably take another interview to actually talk about. So a little bit about the things I did in the physics PhD. So I was studying, how a physical system, behaves. Sometimes these physical systems uh, cannot be solved in a traditional way, and you have to do like simulation, things like that. And that's how I get into the chaos theory and have my first brush up with the neural networks. Um, and to interesting thing I should say right now is at that point, the neural networks was looked down upon by physicists because, as you know, that the neural networks can predict things very accurately, but in many cases you cannot explain it. Uh, there used to be a very good system that can predict the sunspot very accurately. Uh, but that system is a neural network based system. It doesn't tell you why, why you see, fewer sunspots this year versus the other year. So that's a problem with the neural networks because physicists want to know why things happen, not only the fact after the fact. So a lot of my classmates actually went to Wall Street where they actually doing algorithms for stocks of trading stocks, and where the result is all that matters. They don't really care about why. So this is actually what's happening today in the security as well. So a lot of the vendors actually using AIs in their system, and it's all. I mean, right now it's picking up. I think it's very important, and it's very promising. But there are similar things that need to be addressed, which is when you see a specific attack that's being detected by AI, sometimes it cannot explain why. So whether it's why the AI engine think this is an attack. So the related question is, when you compare two AI engines, how do you tell one AI engine is better than the other? So that's also one of the challenges. Each AI engine has IQ, so how do you know one of them has higher IQ? So I think in terms of the AI, we are still on a sort of a learning slope. We're developing the technology, but we are learning along the way. We're learning to live with it, but we also wish that we can understand it a little bit better. I think that's the stage where we are right now.
Very interesting, Tim. I know, like I said, my limited experience with AI is I always kind of equated it to the cop on the beat, where it would had a very good capability of telling me what was not normal on my network.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
like you should go investigate this. I know I could talk to you all day about attack vectors and MITRE and how complex it is, but unfortunately, we're at the end of our conversation.
Yeah.
So any of our listeners are interested, you can click on the link below and go to and review Tim's article, Taking Security to the Next Level. I want to thank you again for your time. And do you have any closing thoughts or final points you wish to make, Tim?
Well, I would like to take this chance to thank you guys for inviting me, and and it's very interesting topic, and I really enjoyed it.
I did too, Tim. Thank you very much for taking the time with us today. So I'm Brian Fletcher from ISACA, signing off, and I look forward to our next discussion. And please go and read Tim's article. It's a very interesting perspective on this very important issue.